was already written off. So you needed a level 3 capacity. So that was the nature and level of the modus operandi. So this is how I would describe it, but evidence gathered through the process of responding, I think it proved that it was planned. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. If we align ourselves with what you've submitted, that this was a planned gathering, it would mean there would have to be an operational plan developed by the SAPS, correct?
Yes, for any planned gathering in which we formally received information, there will have to be a plan developed by the SAPS.
Was there a plan to manage the unrest in July?
Okay, maybe let me respond this way. The unrest in July started with the execution of the court order. There was a fully fledged operational plan. And then after all, there was an early warning that was issued without specifics, but there was national instruction, NCCF instruction 3 that was issued by the Deputy National Commissioner Policing from the National Crime Combating Forum for contingency alertness. So contingency planning operational instructions are always there. But because the modus operandi was not exactly known, there wasn't an approved operational plan that was put in place for execution. I think, but there was contingency alertness for response for any eventuality. As we indicate, the unrest was unpredicted. The modus was unpredicted. So, but immediately after the outbreak, then there was a fully fledged approved operational plan. Thank you, sir.
Could you kindly make this plan available to the Commission? We would like to have sight of this plan that was approved.
The approved plan immediately after the outbreak would be made available, sir.
Thank you. If you can't, following the judgment by the Constitutional Court, there were reports of trucks being banned or roads being blockaded, and this was not diffused by the police within 4 hours. So what happens in terms of your own operations when a gathering or an unrest is not diffused within 4 hours, the first 4 hours? What else would you do in that situation?
Okay, it depends at what level. If the unrest is at level 1 and there's level 1 capacity trying to diffuse the operation, then we call for the intervention of level 3, and we will deploy level 3. And if level 3 does not manage to diffuse the operation, the unrest, and then we would then call for the defense backup and other related forces. Then again, it will also depend on the nature and modus operandi applied, which will determine which level of force is required in order to defuse it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. As the National Commissioner, did you give an instruction for the deployment of public order policing units to the hotspots or to KZN in particular during the unrest?
I definitely did. I gave an instruction to both the Deputy National Commissioner Policing to make sure that we deploy complementary forces to support both KwaZulu-Natal as well as Gauteng. But I also equally gave instructions to both provincial commissioners for the deployment of level 3 capacity, including the coordination of support. Thank you, sir.
Which provinces which members from other provinces were deployed to come and assist KZN?
I think there's a national complement which was deployed from national, but when we also refer to a national complement, if one province is in a deep crisis, we also go to an extent of taking other public order resources from other provinces. But it suffices to say additional public order resources were taken from national and deployed to KZN.
How many members were deployed and when were they deployed to KwaZulu-Natal?
I think the detail of the figure will be given by the Deputy National Commissioner Policing, but I know of an additional 1,000 members that we ordered to be deployed from the reserve, so that we maximize KZN. But there was also an alternate deployment demand between Gauteng and as well as KZN controlled by the incidents. But there were additionals. I think the details can be given at that final level.
Yes, this. Please share this with us. This can be through a written submission. We need to know how many members were deployed. Do you perhaps know when were they deployed?
Yes, I think in the submission I can give you, and as well as the date and time on which they were deployed, because I remember I gave an instruction that let's even use air support to provide such support to KZN.
Did you convene a National Operations Center meeting as the National Commissioner before and during the unrest?
The type of a meeting I convened was an operational meeting with Deputy National Commissioner by virtue of the demand of the situation. I think firstly, I convened with Deputy National Commissioner, policing, dealing with the deployment, but given the fact that there was a crisis of resources, I was also then at the same time compelled to convene with the support that it structures, like for instance, the Integrated Resource Committee. And then the operational meetings they are convened through the National Crime Combating Forum, which was then overseen by the Deputy National Commissioner Policing. So the Deputy National Commissioner Policing convened the operational meetings before and after, but was reporting to me, and I was giving the instructions. And then at the same time, I was also then giving instructions on the rapid deployment of resources. Thank you.
What do you mean by when you say there was a crisis of resources? Are you talking about human resources, financial resources, or physical resources? Could you please clarify that for us?
Okay, maybe let me start by saying, one, the modus operandi applied here was that of overstretching the police resources. The nature of the public violence, they will start something at a particular hotspot area. When we stabilize that hotspot, before we finish, then they will start at another one. Now, as a result of that, they were actually drawing us to a human capital crisis. But at the same time, again, there was a need for the deployment of capital resources like your nyalas and as well as your water cannons. But then there was also a need to fly members for rapid deployment, which required air support. And as a result, I also then I called all the support role players. So both operational and support role players, they were convened and given assignments to say, let us see where are we required to rapidly deploy both physical as well as human resources. But then again, there was also, based on the same modus operandi, other intelligence suggesting that the spreading was now planned to move to other provinces, more specifically Mpumalanga, Limpopo. And as a result, we had to look at the whole country nationally. Thank you.
Thank you. Please also share the records of the POP units that were deployed to KZN and Gauteng. Commissioner, you are very vocal about the 72-hour action plan. In many instances, when there are crisis situations, you always talk about this plan. Did you, before or during the unrest, activate this plan, the 72-hour plan, which I reckon is only activated during extreme situations? And this was an extreme situation, correct?
Yes, sir. I think 100% correct. The 72-hour activation plan is a standing instruction, is a standing directive that any nature of crime incident that takes place where the communities may be endangered or including their property, we must respond within 72 hours. The instruction 3 that was issued by the Deputy National Commissioner was also inclusive of the 72-hour activation plan. And this 72-hour activation plan was part of the response to the unrest. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. That's helpful. And as the National Police Commissioner, you would receive reports from the two provinces from time to time. Is that correct, regarding the implementation of the operational plans?
Yes, you are 100% correct. I will receive reports from time to time and also give instructions from time to time, but at the same time escalate the reports from time to time.
And I still need to know which provinces were activated to come and assist KZN. If you can, please, could you establish just provinces, not units, but which provinces were asked to assist the KwaZulu-Natal province?
Okay, yeah, thank you, sir. Let me first say, for provinces, firstly, provinces have got inter-provincial coordination and cooperation where they do assist each other and one another without national direction or intervention, which is at the level of provinces and is at an operational level. But secondly, whenever one province is in crisis, and due to the outbreak of incidents that is likely to go beyond the capacity of the province to control, that incident get escalated to national, and it becomes a national intervention type of an incident. Then provinces are then given an option whether to assist the province in question or not. They are then given a national instruction to say, shift resource A, B, and C to the next province. But that becomes a national directive. During this particular crisis, there was a national instruction that was instructing certain provinces to provide resources. I know that there's certain resources which were shifted from Mpumalanga, and I'm sure in Limpopo to support KZN, and including Eastern Cape. So, but it was a national directive. It wasn't the provinces deciding to assist. Thank you.
So this instruction to provide support would entail support in the form of nyalas, water canyons, protective gear,
and helicopters.
Human resources, helicopters?
Yes.
Thank you. Could you also clarify this? If I'm a member of the public order policing in the Eastern Cape, you've mentioned that some were deployed from the Eastern Cape. If I drive to KZN, in terms of your communication, the communication radios fitted on the vehicles, when I get to KZN from the Eastern Cape, will I be able to communicate with members of the SAPS when I enter KZN?
Yes, I think you will be able when you enter KZN. Though the radio system is also subject to technology upgrade. We are also upgrading in order to be more technological effective. But when you get into the vicinity, you can be able to communicate effectively.
And when you are in KZN throughout, would one be able to communicate effectively using the radio system if I'm from another province?
Let me say, sir, if you are from another province, when you enter the radius of the vicinity, you would be able to communicate effectively because our radios are acquired nationally. We use the same quality. But from Eastern Cape to communicate while we're in the Eastern Cape to KZN, that's where we cannot 100% guarantee the frequency there. So at the moment, what we did, like for instance, during the unrest, was to move members either by transport on the ground and where possible, use air support so that we get them to the vicinity of KwaZulu-Natal and we equip them while they are there and make sure that then they start using the radio communication system. At a distance beyond the province, we were also resorting to cell phones and other means of communication. Thank you, sir.
Well, the information we have is to the contrary, that your system is unable to synchronize communication. That as a police member, when you enter KZN or when you're in KZN using a vehicle from another province, you're unable to communicate with other members, and hence the lack of coordination throughout the unrest by members of the SAPS, even those who were deployed from other provinces. Was this identified in the operational plan, that it could be one of the risks?
Yeah, I think as I have explained to you, sir, our radio communication system is on an upgrade at the present moment. And whenever we design any responsive operational plan, that is always indicated an alternative measure of communication, like also correctly explaining to say where the radio communication has got limitations, we then resort to the use of cell phones. But the whole radio communication system of SABC, it's under upgrade at the present moment, and we are working on improving it. There's other areas which are a little bit ahead of the others. Like for instance, the Tetra system was implemented in 2 provinces, and we want to extend it to all other provinces. But the alternative is between the use of other communication means backing up the radio communication system. But whenever there's such, the operational plan outlines the alternative communication means while we are busy with the operation.
They need to upgrade. Isn't that an acknowledgement that your current communication systems are not effective?
I think let me say you are right, sir, because you may not opt for a decision to upgrade, obviously, if you are at 100%. But the other point of substantiating what you are indicating is the fact that the technological developments are going on a high speed outside there. And we are trying to adjust to the technological pace. And as a result of that, the communication within SABC is actually an integral part of that. So we are not yet effective up to the expectation. Yes, we are upgrading, and we're trying to work hard on it so that we improve on it.
From a crisis management point of view, are you willing to concede that due to this lack of communication, there couldn't have been a proper coordination and members who were mobilized to come and provide support in KZN could not have been properly coordinated as a result of this lack of communication. And hence, people were emboldened to do what they did during the unrest.
I would not necessarily attribute the whole thing to communication because, like for instance, earlier on, there's several factors, of course. Earlier on, you indicated that those members came with vehicles that could not communicate. But whenever we deploy members, if, say, for instance, we use air support to deploy members to a particular spot, those members, by majority, they will use vehicles from the province where they are deployed. The only vehicles that are coming from other provinces by majority are your capital vehicles like your Nyalas and as well as your helicopters and others. And those capital vehicles, including the water cannons, they are actually fitted with national adapted communication. So yes, communication was another area of discrepancy that needed to be improved, but it's not necessarily the main cause of maybe holding back or putting limitations on our response. I think the main cause was a shortage of capacity. I think we did not have enough capacity to respond, but the other main cause was the nature of the modus operandi used. I think SABC was overstretched in such a manner that the current establishment could not be everywhere in time, and again, the other factors was the spatial development stretch. There's other areas where we were supposed to have police stations already in terms of the population growth and expansion from a spatial development point of view. And those particular areas we would have then helped us to augment capacity in order to respond or to prevent. But I think I will not differ with what you have mentioned, because communication was also not at 100%. But we are giving attention to all these factors. We don't want to leave anything out in order to make sure that for the next situation, we are 100% ready in all respect. Thank you, sir.
I'm almost nearing the end. I would also like to know if, in terms of resources, did you have, at the time of the unrest, did you have enough water cannons? Did you have enough protective gear? Did you have enough helmets? Did you have enough stun grenades, smoke grenades?
Okay, let me say, sir, that I would have had enough for those who are deployed. The members who were deployed, they were properly equipped, and everyone who was sent down to provide support was given the equipment. But we needed to have more members. And if we had more members, we would have had more stun grenades, more protective gear, and I think our presence and as well as our pressure would have been felt in a quicker way. So generally, we need to increase those resources, starting from human capital and going beyond. And obviously, my instruction, which was also flowing across during the unrest, was the rapid deployment and checking the stock levels so that we proactively provide. And some of the resources, we flew them through the air support just to make sure that they are there, where we're realizing we are facing a little bit of shortage of stock levels. Thank you.
Commissioner, one would think, given the fact that we are the so-called protest capital of the world as South Africa, that under your tutelage, the SAPS would have properly resourced the public order policing unit. You have stated that you are in the process of enhancing and capacitating this unit for up to 7,000 members. But would you say, given the fact that we have service delivery protests, we've had Feast Must Fall protests, and given the fact that we are the most...
The National Police Commissioner Ketla Sitole, questioned by Buang Jones of the South African Human Rights Commission about events of July when there was unrest that resulted in the deaths of more than 300 South Africans and looting in Kwazulu, Natal and Gauteng. Current communication systems not effective in the police, and that from a crisis management point of view, there wasn't proper coordination by